these are the stories making the headlines at this hour. Tensions rise on the Korean peninsula over North Korea's satellite launch. Pyongyang says it will resume military action that have been restricted by the Inter-Korean Military Agreement, and it will place advanced military equipment near the border. This comes a day after the South partially suspended the agreement in response to the launch. South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol and UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak signed a Downing Street Accord with plans for cooperation in trade, technology, and green energy. Also on defense, the two agreed on stronger action against North Korea and its illegal weapons program. South Korea has once again been elected as a member of the UNESCO World Heritage Committee. The committee has the final say in inscribing a property on the World Heritage List. Good afternoon. We start with the latest developments on the Korean peninsula, following North Korea's launching of a spy satellite and the launch of a ballistic missile into the East Sea. Pyongyang says it will resume military action that had been restricted by the Inter-Korean Military Agreement, and it will place advanced military equipment near the border. This comes a day after South partially suspended the agreement in response to the launch. Park Go-nu has the details.
North Korea has announced that it will immediately resume all military action that was restricted by the 2018 Inter-Korean Military Agreement. The North's Defense Ministry made the announcement on Thursday morning and said it would place advanced military equipment near the border. This comes after South Korea approved the partial suspension of the September 19 military agreement the day before, as a response to the regime's recent reconnaissance satellite launch. Following the South's partial suspension of the agreement, North Korea also launched a ballistic missile on Wednesday night to the East Sea from Sunan, South Pyongan province. Seoul's Joint Chiefs of Staff said it assumes the launch was a failure, but mentioned that Seoul and Washington intelligence authorities are doing additional analysis. But the North's recent provocations might not be limited to these launches. According to the International Atomic Energy Agency on Wednesday local time, a strong water outflow from a reactor's cooling system was detected after mid-October at North Korea's Yongbyon nuclear facility. The agency noted this could mean a possible test run at this facility, which is suspected to be used to produce materials for nuclear weapons. At the IAEA Board of Governors meeting in Vienna on Wednesday, Director General Rafael Grossi called the North's activity deeply regrettable as it violates UN Security Council resolutions. Grossi said the regime should cooperate promptly with the agency in the full and effective implementation of its NPT Safeguards Agreement. Park Go-nu, Arirang News.
Now moving on to President Yoon Suk-yeol's state visit to the UK. The South Korean leader and UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak signed a Downing Street Accord with key plans for defense cooperation. That includes stronger action against North Korea and its illegal weapons program. Our Oh Soo-young reports.
South Korea and the United Kingdom will develop cutting-edge military technologies to neutralise North Korea's nuclear missile threat. President Yoon Suk-yeol and Prime Minister Rishi Sunak on Wednesday jointly declared the Downing Street Accord, upgrading their bilateral ties to a global strategic partnership. The set of documents lay out key areas of cooperation in security and defence, science and technology, trade and energy, as Britain tilts its strategic interest towards the Indo-Pacific, which accounts for more than 60% of global trade and GDP. The two countries have a shared interest in promoting peace and stability amid geopolitical clashes in the region. As technology blurs the line between national and economic security, spurring a rivalry for supremacy in advanced high-tech areas, Seoul and London will deepen their tech cooperation and work to develop artificial intelligence and quantum technology for military use.
If AI and digital technology are utilized in quantum military technology, quantum sensing and control could thwart enemy missile launch attempts, cause malfunctioning in the propulsion and separation stages, and neutralize the trajectory from hitting the planned target point.
A presidential official told reporters in London that South Korea looks to maximise its own capabilities to deter North Korea's security threat and curb its illegal weapons activities and exchanges with countries like Russia. In doing so, Seoul will accelerate its research and development and build up a network of like-minded countries. On broader security issues, South Korea and the UK agreed to establish a new 2+2 dialogue between foreign and defence ministers and develop closer defence industry cooperation. They will also conduct joint military exercises, share maritime security information, and hold joint maritime patrols to enforce UN Security Council sanctions against North Korea. The two countries forged a strategic cyber partnership, the first such document adopted at the leaders' level for both countries. Seoul says this could lead to closer cooperation with the Five Eyes intelligence sharing network.
With South Korea, is considered to be a reliable partner, one of the top partners in Asia and the Indo-Pacific region. So you see the mutual interest, which I think is going to continue to drive this bilateral cooperation between Korea and specific European countries, but also within the context of the EU or NATO.
In the accord, Yoon and Sunak jointly condemned Pyongyang's unlawful nuclear missile programs and called for an end to its military cooperation with Moscow. They also opposed attempts to subvert international law and freedom of navigation in the East and South China Sea, condemned Russia's aggression towards Ukraine and Hamas's initial terrorist attacks on Israel as unjustifiable, and sought peaceful and humane solutions. As they join hands across all key strategic challenges, marking 140 years of diplomatic relations, South Korea and the UK vow to work together to defend freedom and democracy around the world. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News, London.
Alongside security, another key part of the Downing Street Accord is boosting cooperation in trade, technology, and clean energy. President Yoon says all is possible based on the two nations' deep history. Our Kim Do-yeon has more.
Pursuing prosperity, growth, and security in our economies. That's how the Downing Street Accord signed on Wednesday between South Korea and the UK refers to the economic and technological aspects of this new era of bilateral cooperation. There are 26 items included in the second chapter of the accord, with notable achievements being the ROK-UK Framework for Semiconductor Cooperation, the ROK-UK Supply Chains Dialogue, and the ROK-UK Digital Partnership, and a key focus on supply chain protection.
저는 양국이 그야말로 혈맹의 동지이기 때문에 경제 협력이라든지 또는 과학기술 협력에 있어서 우리가 못할 일이 없다라는 생각을 갖고 있습니다.
The ROK-UK Framework for Semiconductor Cooperation is specifically a commitment to the chips industry with, quote, both bilateral activities and cooperation in multilateral fora. The ROK-UK Supply Chains Dialogue, a ministerial-level meeting, will be established by the end of 2023 and will focus on strengthening the supply of parts and equipment for cutting-edge technologies and critical mineral resources, among others. The ROK-UK Digital Partnership will create a forum at the vice ministerial level to discuss telecom supply chain diversification, semiconductors, artificial intelligence, and cybersecurity. In addition, the accord aims to modernize the free trade agreement to, quote, reflect the importance of emerging trade agendas such as supply chain resilience, digital economy, and energy cooperation. In the meantime, the diplomatic accord acknowledges the importance of the MOU on space cooperation as the two will work together on satellites, tackling space debris and Earth observation technology. The third part of the accord focuses on, quote, delivering a sustainable, secure, and resilient future. Among the 11 items under this third and final part is the ROK-UK Clean Energy Partnership.
A key feature of the achievements in this field is the concentration of efforts to spread carbon-free energy centered around nuclear and offshore wind power.
The two countries are also set to hold regular high-level meetings to discuss progress in achieving net zero by 2050. In the meantime, President Yoon also showed his ambition to build from the Downing Street Accord as he attended a banquet hosted by the Lord Mayor of the City of London, Professor Michael Mainelli, on Wednesday night. The event at Guildhall is a customary event for guests on a state visit to the UK, and there, President Yoon took the opportunity to meet with economic representatives from London. Yoon added that despite it being his last night in London, tomorrow will be a brighter day for Seoul-London ties. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
Also during President Yoon's state visit to the UK, King Charles made members of K-pop girl group Blackpink honorary members of the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire. During a special ceremony at Buckingham Palace attended by President Yoon and First Lady Kim Gun-hee on Wednesday, Blackpink's Rose, Jennie, Jisoo, and Lisa were awarded with the honorary MBEs. The presidential office says the MBEs recognize how the girl group acted as ambassadors for the COP26 climate forum and have been advocates for the UN's Sustainable Development Goals. The members of Blackpink were also among the guests at the state banquet for President Yoon. The MBE is the lowest class of the Order of the British Empire, which rewards outstanding achievement or service to the community. Now, over in Gaza, amid conflicting reports over the timeline regarding the ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas, hostages could be released as early as this Friday. The deal also includes more aid into Gaza. Jin has the details.
Israel says the terms of the ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas through mediation by the United States, Egypt, and Qatar will not go into effect before Friday. That's according to Israel's national security advisor, and despite an earlier announcement by Hamas that the ceasefire deal would begin on Thursday at 10 a.m. local time. A Reuters report citing an Israeli source said the delay is because Hamas and Qatar had yet to sign the agreement. However, the source said they were confident the agreement would go ahead.
I welcome the news that 50 hostages, all women and children, will be released in return for the release of 150 Palestinian women and children and a much-needed humanitarian pause. I thank the governments of Egypt, Qatar, and the United States for facilitating this agreement.
Under the terms of the agreement, Israeli officials said the hostages would be released in 4 phases during pauses in the fighting, with at least 10 hostages released at each stage. Officials also said the pauses would allow for an increase in humanitarian aid to Gaza, although there is no agreement on how much aid would be allowed into the enclave. Israeli officials have also confirmed that the country's Air Force would stop flying over southern Gaza and have agreed to a 6-hour daily no-fly window in the northern end of the territory during the ceasefire. Meanwhile, a G20 virtual summit was held on Wednesday, during which all leaders welcomed the news of a ceasefire and held further discussions for a sustainable ceasefire and peace agreement. The meeting was presided over by Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who called on leaders to do everything in their power to ensure that the Israel-Hamas conflict does not spread further, calling the situation a matter of concern for all of us. Jin, Arirang News.
South Korea has once again been elected as a member of the UNESCO World Heritage Committee. The committee has the final say in inscribing a property on the World Heritage List. Here's more on the significance of the election. According to the Cultural Heritage Administration on Wednesday, South Korea has been elected to the UNESCO World Heritage Committee for a 4-year term through 2027, marking the 4th time the country has been selected as a member. The country was elected as one of the 21 state members of the committee in 1997, 2005, and 2013. The selection was made during the 24th session of the General Assembly of the states parties to the Convention for the Protection of the World Cultural and Natural Heritage at the UNESCO headquarters in Paris. South Korea was able to earn one of the 2 seats allocated to Asian Pacific countries. Seoul's Foreign Ministry praised the selection of South Korea, calling it a byproduct of active diplomacy based on its contribution to the World Heritage Institution. It went on to further say that it plans to make a leading contribution to the development of the World Heritage Institution in consideration of the new tasks, including responses to climate change and coexistence between regional communities and heritage. The committee has the final say on whether a property is inscribed on the World Heritage List. We're also examining conservation condition reports of inscribed properties. Along with South Korea, 8 other countries joined the committee, including Ukraine, Vietnam, and Kenya. Now shifting gears from film cameras to vinyl records, the return of oldies but goodies is a new trend among young generations. Our An Sung-jin tells us more.
The styles of the late 1990s and early 2000s have been back in fashion recently, but this popularity of retro items goes beyond simply collecting vintage items. Rather, it is about the genuineness of living the moment and the authenticity of the nostalgia that attracts millennials and Gen Z to these retro products. Though pictures from these vintage cameras have a lower quality than modern smartphone lenses, each picture takes more thought and care, giving it value.
I feel like with the film camera, you're more in the moment. You see something that you want to capture and truly kind of like revisit kind of the significance of taking a photo and wanting to kind of freeze that moment and capture it forever.
According to a shopping platform popular with young consumers, retro cameras have been searched for 20 times more this May than the same time last year. Another blast from the past vinyl records are also seeing a resurgence. According to Luminat's music media report, 2022 marked the 17th consecutive year that sales of vinyl records rose in the U.S. One online retailer said vinyls in South Korea peaked in 2020 with a near 120% on-year increase from 2019. Some cafes in Seoul even have individual record players and headsets for each table to listen to vinyl records. For millennial and Gen Z listeners, it's the old-fashioned sound of vinyl that appeals to them.
As far as Gen Z goes, I think that there's kind of a novelty to the actual act of listening to music on vinyl as opposed to listening to it on Spotify or like a streaming service or something like that.
The saying oldies but goodies is the perfect description to explain the continuing demand for retro products among the millennial and the Gen Z. A professor in consumer science says that young people's consumption power can propel the popularity of anything retro that they find fresh or unique.
Since retro products are not something they have been exposed to, they find a modern twist to it and add value. The MZ generation has the purchasing power plus the ability to spread information on the internet, which makes their influence powerful in bringing new products to the market, whether it's food, items, or places.
She said that the younger generations also add their new own twist to these old retro items. Han Sung-jin, Arirang News.
Let's take a look at what's going on in the world now. In the Netherlands, exit polls for the country's early general election on Wednesday suggest a victory for far-right anti-Islam populist Geert Wilders' Party for Freedom. According to a poll by the Netherlands national broadcaster, NOS, Party for Freedom will take 35 seats in the 150-seat lower house of parliament, ahead of the centre-left alliance of the Labour Party and Green Left, which is estimated to win 26 seats. 60-year-old Wilders' election manifesto includes radical changes, such as the Netherlands leaving the European Union and advocating for the de-Islamization of the country, totally banning incoming asylum seekers, as well as a migrant pushback. However, Wilders could struggle to form a government with the Netherlands' other three major parties signalling an unwillingness to join a coalition. Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte announced his resignation in July as his government collapsed over an immigration row. A vehicle exploded on Wednesday on a bridge linking the US and Canada, killing the driver and passenger. The car was traveling at high speeds on the Rainbow Bridge when it hit a barrier and launched at least 2.4 meters into the air before hitting a US customs structure and exploding. 4 major border crossings between the US and Canada were temporarily shut, but 3 have since reopened. While authorities say investigations are ongoing, New York Governor Kathy Hochul said there was no indication that the crash was related to terrorism. The U.S. Customs and Border Protection Agency initially said the incident was most likely to have been caused by a reckless driver. The co-founder and former CEO of OpenAI, Sam Altman, who was sacked by the company's board only last Friday, has reached a deal to be reinstated as CEO. Following the unexpected sacking on Friday, over 700 of the 770 staff members at OpenAI signed a letter demanding the resignation of all board members and the reinstatement of Altman. OpenAI, the creator of ChatGPT, said in a statement late on Tuesday that they have reached an agreement in principle for Sam Altman to return to OpenAI as CEO with a new initial board. OpenAI's new board will be led by Salesforce co-CEO Bret Taylor, as well as former U.S. Treasury Secretary Larry Summers and current board member Quora CEO Adam D'Angelo. A World Cup qualifying match between Brazil and world champions Argentina at the Maracana Stadium descended into chaos on Tuesday as fighting broke out in the stands during the national anthems. Fights broke out between the two sets of fans, with Brazilian police moving in to control the situation. However, what was seen as a heavy-handed approach by the police towards the Argentine fans outraged the national team, including Captain Lionel Messi, who led his players off the pitch, delaying kickoff by 30 minutes. A statement from Brazilian state police said officers had been involved in scuffles with fans and 8 had been arrested. Argentina went on to win the game 1-0, with Brazil suffering their first ever home defeat in a World Cup qualifier. Kim Seong, Arirang News.
Good afternoon. Another band of wet clouds could move into the country, dropping a mix of rain and snow in central parts of the country today. Then southern provinces could see 1 to 3 centimeters of snowfall on Friday. It's a warm but dusty day, especially those of us in the capital area have been enduring very bad dust levels since this morning, with an ultra-fine dust advisory issued in Incheon. The rest of the country will also need a face mask to protect against bad air today. Meanwhile, east of Gangwon-do is under both a dry and a strong wind advisory, so fire caution is a must. We had a warm start to the day, if only it could stay that way during winter. Anyways, highs are similar to Wednesday's, are topping out at 14 degrees. Busan and Jeju very warm and sunny at 20 degrees this afternoon. Then temperatures will plunge dramatically overnight, so we'll need to exercise caution on the roads. And if you're planning to be out of town this weekend, have extra layers. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
The space race has officially begun on the Korean peninsula as a North Korean rocket lifted off carrying the regime's spy satellite, which it claims to be a success, although that is yet to be verified. On November 30th, South Korea will be launching its first indigenous spy satellite from California, atop SpaceX's Falcon 9. Well, South Korea is far ahead of the North in terms of satellite's imagery resolution and operational reliability against bad weather. However, even a single satellite could help North Korea, giving it a capability previously lacked that can enhance its targeting and damage assessment, which could also rapidly advance amid deepening ties with Russia. While both sides plan more satellite launches to come, one thing is certain: increased intelligence will expand military scope and raise further tensions on the peninsula. That is all for today. Thanks for watching.